and obtaining a record number of votes and percentage for any New York Green Party candidate. Please welcome Robin Laverne Wilson.
You earned it, trust me.
What's up, y'all? How y'all feeling? All right. I want to just see, looking at the time, they said I got 10 minutes. Shout out to Jabari. Thank you. And shout out to Keith, who's getting his hustle on. That's all right. That's all right. I was in that seat. I don't like to write speeches. I like to speak from the heart. I'm very extemporaneous. And I would like to just share with you and get a consensus. I know I'm not the only one who's going through this right now, where it feels like we're definitely in a tumultuous time, and we're all doing the best that we can to find our own individual center in this. So even though I just came through a whole whirlwind season, I have been in extreme self-care, and I'm saying that because I think it's important for all of us to be in that place, to find our center in all of this upheaval, because that is where our strength comes in. And I'm speaking to you as someone who is most likely diametrically opposed, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but my experience, my skin, my phenotypes, my history, all of that means that I have an extremely different experience to all of these issues that you do. And like the yin and the yang, one is not better or more powerful than the other. And part of the reason why we're in these issues is because we have so many false dualities, like Democrat, Republican, when we know they're playing the same game. North, South, Mason-Dixon line, same thing. Where did all of that cotton go to be processed? Where was all that sugar brought to be processed? And who made all that money, right? Just a stone's throw from here, as you know, was that iconic bull. But what I find very ironic is that that bull is right there between the Atlantic Ocean, where my ancestors were forced to come here, and the Museum of the American Indian. And then there's the bull. And I'll admit I have some mixed feelings about the statue of that little girl facing down the bull, because yes, the future is female, absolutely. Yes.
Always good to come prepared.
But I would have been way more impressed, and it would have been way more accurate if that statue of that little girl had had afro puffs instead of pigtails. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I'm here to give you the counterpoint to money out of politics, because you cannot separate the two. That's just like asking the greedy to not run for office, because they're gonna do it anyway. That's like telling the ruthless to just stop, be nice, okay? So we can scream truck thump all we want, but is that really gonna make him stop? No. You can't take money out of politics. Maybe we should have more specificity in what we are asking for. The universe is listening. Now, some of us do and don't believe in God. We just had a major religious holiday of Judeo-Christian. But at the end of the day, what I do know is that the universe exists, and I know my ancestors exist. And I know that my ancestors were invisibilized and made a line item in the ledgers of many, many, many men that built the wealth of this country. So in some ways, to just outright blanket say get money out of politics is also erasing the experience of the people whose own essence are the essence of capitalism and politics in this country. Someone in the audience made a very strong point about how classism and racism became conflated. Well, you know what? They're fraternal twins, and they are born of the same womb that is greed. And classism is only a few minutes older than racism. In fact, slavery and colonization are the two tracks that the railroad known as capitalism and this fake-ass democracy that we're in runs along the lines of, right? Now, just a stone's throw from here that way is another rally going on about what? Cuts. Cuts. What you could say is they're taking money out of politics, but not in a way that actually helps people. How about the fact that schools are being rapidly defunded, right? We know that there are counties that even close all of their public schools as a way to avoid letting little black and brown children sit beside them. These are really hard, painful truths that we have to deal with collectively if we are really ever going to erase the karma and the pattern of the tapestry that the legacy of this country has built for generations. Now, there's a great thinker that I like to think has inspired the shit out of me, and her name is Angela Davis. But she's not the only great thinker. She's not the only black woman great thinker. There's also Hortense Spillers, who brought up a very powerful point that I have been meditating on more and more. Think about this. Think about this. Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass. Both of them were fighting the same fight, right? One was in rhetoric, though, and the other was in action. One, and I'm not saying that one's work was more important than the other, but you gotta have both. Who was the one who actually picked up the gun and said, let's go, let's go, let's go? Are you really about it?
Let's go!
If you still have all of your money in a major corporate bank account, you got no business being in this rally. If your money is at Skank of America, if your money is at Smells Fart Go, if your money is at Shitty Bank, you are just as complicit as those sociopaths in power that we are trying to appeal to play nice with us. That's right. So, Hortense Spiller says that black culture is about being critical. I am lovingly, gently being critical of our plea to get money out of politics, because if the personal is political, then you cannot conflate the two. Yes, we have unfortunately been indoctrinated to be consumers rather than citizens. But unless you wake up and realize that you are also financing your own oppression in small, subtle ways, all the way down to the bank account that you have. You can go to every freaking truck bump rally you want to, but if you've ignored that person waiting to get onto the train because the fare is too high, which is why the #1 arrest rate in New York City is people who are trying to get on a train to get about their business or get to their job or get to their school or get to their children or get to their life. Being nickel and dime to death. Don't tell me that's not political. And if you have the power to swipe someone in, you are just done what is akin to Harriet Tubman picking up the gun and saying, I'm not just going to talk about it, I'm going to be about it, I'm going to help you. I'm going to look for the people who are invisibilized by this system, because the people who are invisibilized by this system, regardless of where the money changing is going on up here, are the people that we need to open our eyes up for. If what we're going against is the ideology of state-sanctioned cruelty, then it is our job to be as vehemently benevolent as possible to one another. While we are fighting for concepts, we have to make it concrete on the day-to-day of everything that we're doing. You can't tell me that money and politics can be absolutely separated when Harriet Tubman is about to go onto the $20 bill, and yet before she died, she fought for what? The sum of what probably amounts to $20 today to get paid for the work that she did spying for the Union Army that was supposed to be about her equality as a human being. So, I challenge every single one of us to look outside of the specificity of your own experience, of your own culture, of your own privileges and see the people around you who are invisible. The people who are invisible are the ones that are most affected by the corruption that's going on. It's not that we want money out of politics, we want corruption out of politics. We want cruelty out of politics. We want commodification of people out of politics. I think that might be most of my notes. Hold on. I meant to also give myself the full introduction because, yes, I did run for senator. And yes, I did break records. And yes, I did learn in that process that black women are simultaneously expected and disrespected for being in positions of power. And think about that. Who are the most invisibilized through this legacy beyond our lifetimes of what capitalism, conflated with so-called democracy, has done to this community? I want to see a girl with Afro puffs staring down that bull. She'll probably get on it and ride that mug too. Also, culture and grassroots live down here, right? And up here from the top down is where all the legislation lives, right? But in the middle is where the institutions meet, right? And the institutions are filled with people. And yeah, I had my chance at trying to make change from the top down, but really, you can change laws, but it's not gonna change hearts and minds. Because down here, the culture is where it's at, right? Otherwise, if culture wasn't so rich and juicy, why would they be so busy trying to steal it and make money off of it anyway? You hear me, Pepsi? Seriously? How about have a Coke and a smile? You know what? Coke is evil too. How about just get some water? Oh, how about make our water drinkable? How about that? Okay? Real simple. That's what I'm thirsty for. A fresh drink of water that I don't have to run through filters, like basics. We have to change the culture, and we have to be the culture. And so, unless you're disrupting the status quo, you are the status quo. Vote with your dollars. Vote for the people that I've hopefully inspired to run for office, like Jabari and Keith, because I was brave or stupid enough to do it anyway. I'm Robin Laverne Wilson, also known as Dragonfly, also known as Miss Justice Jester, also known as Helvetica Bold, woman of many names and many talents, because culture is where I am anchored to change the grassroots so that we can actually take care of one another. Thank you.